The story begins with the frail broomstick of a hero named Noah, who is the third son of a broke noble family in the Drakos Empire. All he wishes for is a laid-back, responsibility-free life, but things fall apart on his 15th birthday when he ends up getting the ultra-rare hero class, which comes with the very responsible job of defeating the Demon Lord. To avoid it, Noah lies to his father by saying that he got the NPC villager class, which makes him disappointed, and his father expels him from the family house. Seeing this as an opportunity, Noah sets off on a journey with his hot maid Ruri to look for a way to change this cursed class so he can live the easy life. After 5 years of chasing rumors like headless chickens, they finally find the legendary class change book in the old Rikarla ruins. With the book in hand, Noah declares it's time for his grand rebirth. He flips through pages of familiar classes like warrior, magician, and knight, and then stumble on rarities like alchemist and some strange ones including battle mage and dragon knight, which he's never heard of. Eventually, he finds the hero class right next to the Demon Lord class. Ruri keeps asking to see the book, and just as she grabs it, the thing glows, blasts Noah with a blinding light, and surrounds him with fluttering pages. The book then picks a brand new class for him called the Monster Tamer. When the light fades, Noah realizes he's back to level 1, but his skills are still there. He's never heard of this new class, so he checks his stats and finds out that it lets him bind monsters using something called a servant chain, and all he has to do is knock them out to recruit them. After the class change, a three-eyed wolf suddenly attacks them. Noah tries to go easy on it, but ends up breaking his sword. He then decides to use his shake paw attack and ends up turning the monster into dust. After that, 1 week passes by and many code monsters later they still don't have any new party members. Ruri wonders if his skill even works and Noah checks his stats and confirms that he's still level 1. Seeing this, Ruri suggests training a weaker monster like a golem instead, and while it sounds insane, Noah refuses to give up so easily. Just then, the two hear a loud noise and turn their attention to its source, spotting a group struggling to defeat a minotaur by throwing fireballs. Unaware that the beast has strong magic resistance, Ruri asks if they should jump in to help, but Noah tells her to hold back and observe for now since he doesn't want them blamed for stealing someone else's prey. In just a few seconds, one of the party attackers gets knocked into a corner, and right before the minotaur can finish him off, Noah slides in with an impact, knocking out the monster momentarily. One of the party ladies asks who he is, but Noah just tells them to find somewhere safe to hide. He wonders why the beast is still standing, and if he has been going too easy on it. He also notices the pendant hanging around the minotaur's neck, and realizes that the creature isn't showing any hostility toward him at all. Noah then tries commanding the monster to extend its arm, and it obeys the command without a single sign of resistance. He pretends to the other party that he's barely managing to hold his own, which causes them to retreat quickly. The party leader introduces himself as Kite Dickens and thanks Noah before leaving with his group. Once the Cheek and Dickens have gone, Noah takes a closer look at the monster and realizes the pendant is actually a servant's chain, and to his surprise, he has even leveled up. He starts wondering what exactly triggers a successful taming. Ruri asks if the beast has a name, and Noah decides to call it Mino before they begin heading toward the exit together. On the way, the strange Mino takes out all the small monsters and even moves rubble aside to catch his master's attention. As they keep walking toward the exit, they notice some human blood on the ground and immediately raise their defenses while following the trail. At the trail's end, they find the guy from before, but unfortunately, it is already too late. Then they spot the girls from the party and quickly rush to them, relieved to find one of them still alive. Suddenly, they get ambushed by sneaky humanoid monsters who start shooting arrows straight at them. One of the little pests wearing a red cap dashes straight at Noah, but there is no way it can outrun him as he easily grabs it. Suddenly, he worries about Ruri and quickly smacks the small creature away. He finds Ruri crouched down, acting like a turtle to protect herself, and she tells him to focus on saving the other girl instead. Noah orders Mino to take care of the remaining monsters, while he begins to heal the girl, who is barely clinging to life. Even though Noah isn't very skilled at healing, his abundant mana usually makes up for it, and he uses it to restore the girl's vitality back to full. He leaves the short sword still stuck in her for now, knowing he can't risk her losing any more blood. As he continues healing, he notices the same red-capped monster from before and wonders if a single hit wasn't enough to take it down. Just as it looks like the red-capped monster is coming for him, it surprisingly joins the fight on their side and helps Mino deal with the rest. Once they are done with the ambushed monsters, Noah checks on the spooky sneaky monster and finds it named as Galanka Dalin Herbet blah blah, and it turns out that all this name and the monster is a mere goblins. although it is way too cool for a goblin standard. But Tame the Goblin and Mino has made Noah figure out the thing with his skill. The incapacitate part of the skill actually means to leave a monster at the verge of death. Meanwhile, the girl Noah has been trying to heal slowly wakes up from unconsciousness. The moment she lifts her head, she panics at the sight of the big, intimidating monster from before and shouts that she is extremely disgusting and absolutely not edible. Noah quickly calms her down, and she thanks him for saving her life by taking the chance to introduce herself as Marin Lenafalls. Noah returns the favor, quietly wondering how he will explain everything to her. He tells her he is a monster tamer who can turn monsters into friends, explaining that she does not need to be afraid of them. Once they finish their introductions, Marin offers her condolences for her fallen comrades. When Noah asks about them, she says she has only been with the two for a short time, but they were truly kind and caring. Noah feels sympathy for her and promises to get her safely to the exit, which makes her joyful with tears in her eyes. As the trio begins moving toward the exit, Marin asks Noah what he was doing in such a dangerous ruin. Noah thinks carefully about how to avoid revealing his true goal of escaping the hero status and quickly comes up with a lame excuse. Marin then asks about his rank and is shocked when he tells her he is still at ranked novice. Just then a wolf monster appears out of nowhere with a surprise attack, but Noah reacts fast, slashing his blade to save the girl and leaving everyone with the impression that he must be a seriously strong person hiding some secret identity. They finally reach the surface, climbing up while completely out of breath and worn down. Marin quickly apologizes to Noah for holding everyone back, but Noah waves it off and tells her to head to the town. Marin asks if he's not coming along, but Noah says he trusts his gut and needs to handle his monster pets. The truth is he has no official identity or documents, and he wants to avoid any close inspection to keep his hero status a secret. Marin's gloomy look almost convinces him to change his mind, but Ruri pinches him hard enough to snap him back to reality. As they leave, Marin thinks about her fallen comrades, realizing she came dangerously close to sharing their fate. Meanwhile, Noah and Ruri, along with their new pets, find themselves in a part of the kingdom they have never seen before. Noah decides to set up camp for some rest and tells Jelanka to take charge of scouting the area. Noah then stumbles upon a beautiful waterfall and considers using the water as an ingredient for their meal. He orders Jelanka to keep an eye on Ruri while he races Milo to see who can catch prey first. Their hunt leads them to an ogre, and seeing it, Noah asks the big creature to leave it to him, noting how unusual it is to find an ogre away from its horde, making it a perfect chance to test his taming skill on a monster. Noah jumps off the cliff, and instead of targeting the monster's weakness, he tries giving it his worst, and luckily, just as he predicted, the ogre joins his party. The moment Noah tames the beast, first the ogre and then Milo start talking. Noah quickly realizes it's not the monsters who suddenly speak human language, but himself as his level has risen, and now he can understand their language. Milo gets overly excited and raises his master off to the river, creating a really awkward scene, and it turns out that he can even communicate with Jelanka now. Meanwhile, back in the city, as Marin walks through the streets, she hears whispers about the quest getting posted again and a fat guy with a tall dude talk about how even Nth class party avoids it. So whoever takes it on must seriously have bricks for brains. In the capital city of the Dracos Empire, the army handles both the main administration and legal stuff, and there's also the head church of the most popular religion in the region called Muller. Our Saintess finally reaches the largest church on the continent and pauses for a second before she heads in. Inside, she steps into a massive hallway with a dove statue right in the center which stands for their god Muller, and casually tells the stone that she's back. Two sisters standing behind her notice the same mad woman talking to rocks again and ask if she's actually doing okay. She answers by saying she wants to speak with her father, who also happens to be the Pope. After she purifies herself and shows gratitude for surviving the ordeal, she wears a majestic robe worthy of a saintess and joins the Pope's audience, sitting on the throne with a gaudy getup and a veil probably meant to cover his ugliness. The man tells her to stop with the pleasantries and report what she found out. Hearing that, she shares this story about the adventurers she accompanied to the ruins and how all three of them would have definitely perished if it wasn't for a brave hero. Still, the old man tells her that he does not care and orders her to find other adventurers for the job and get in that grimoire. Marin argues that the place is simply too dangerous for most adventurers, and those who foolishly take them on usually meet a dirty end. She explains that the Lila Carla ruins are a place straight out of her nightmares, and that's why even out of the 28th ranked adventurers in the world who are famed for their astronomical power, Nth rank party straight up denied the offer because it seems impossible. Hearing that, His Holiness suggests she raise the reward by 10 times to 500 gold, which sends his daughter into shock at how far he's willing to go to make her brother the next pope. You see, he wasn't born a pope himself, and according to what she heard, all the pope candidates searched for the divine class-changing Tum to become pope since her grandfather's days. That's exactly why she's furious she has to face death on a daily basis, all for her brother to become a pope, and suggests that it would be a mistake to raise the reward because it's still a secret that the quest comes from the pope himself. After that, she tells him she'll get it done by any means necessary. His Holiness treats his daughter like spam email and tells her to chop chop as she thinks there's no one who would actually take her quest until Noah flashes in her mind again. She thinks a nice person like him might help her and shares with her father that she found a man with the monster tamer class. Meanwhile, Noah is getting lectured like a little kid in school as Rory stands tall and tells him to man up and admit he wanted to peek at her magnificent beauty while he makes lame excuses and even starts fighting with Milo that he's too strong. But Rory's stomp brings them both back to reality as she gets really angry that they still feel zero guilt, and the red cap pulls out his dagger to dish out punishment. So Noah pleads it's way too early for him to die right after he finally got the Tum they were looking for, not wanting to admit he's just a lowlife who wants to snag a peek. He says Milo is admitting his mistake, but Rory finds it pretty sus that he can suddenly hear his monsters. With a menacing look in her eyes, she says his lowest punishment should be a finger stab to the eyes. Naturally, he fights back saying that's completely unfair, so she gets thinking again, making him worry about what's coming next. To his surprise, she simply plops down right on his lap and says his punishment is to brush her luscious locks like an obedient slave. As he quietly brushes her hair, she is surprised to learn he can now talk to his monsters. He then turns to his ogre and analyzes him, and learns his name is Chappie, leaving them both grinning at the surprisingly cute name. After that, Rory gets up to start cooking dinner, and it seems like they're back to the happy dynamite duo once again. Later that night, after he's done with dinner, Noah notices that their party is starting to look lively again, but Rory is still the one pushing her hardest for him. Though he turns to see his so-called new friends arguing while having a boys' talk in the corner, and feels a little glad they have completely different personalities. The next day, he commands the gang that they'll only move during the day when the sun is out since the forest ahead is filled to the brim with monsters. As they walk through the thicket, Gilanka asks Noah if he can spare him some time and says he would like to swear loyalty to him once more, and after buttering him up, he then brings out the real request that he wishes to become a knight like in the storybooks he used to read. Bro smiles wryly to himself as he thinks of Gilanka becoming a hog rider from Clash of Clans and tells him he can be anything he wants to be when he grows up, which makes the little fella really happy. Rory asks what they're discussing behind her back, so he tells her too. But once Milo hears that, he is absolutely pissed that the ugly dwarf sold his loyalty in exchange for something so incredibly shameless. The two start fighting like little kids while Chappie just watches from a distance, like the chubby kid who always gets bullied and says he also wants to be useful to his master. Rory tells him to stop flip-flopping and man up properly if he is one. That really makes the big guy want to cry, so she grabs his pinky and heals him with her precious smile, making it pretty clear who's the real monster tamer here now. Sometime later, they finally make it out of the thicket and reach a heavily fenced village stuck deep in the middle of nowhere. Born without any common sense to speak of, Noah strolls up to an old woman with his gang of monsters and scares the living daylights out of her, which instantly sets off the alarms. The village gates slam shut, and a lady who ignores all his nonsense tells him not to take a step closer and just disappear already. Still, Noah tries to convince her the monsters are her friends, but she clearly isn't having any of it and draws her bow on the spot. As he notices she is an elf, the lady proudly announces that she doesn't care if it's a human or a monster, and he's made the huge mistake of discovering the hidden elf village, so now she has to put him into sleep mode permanently. In another attempt to win her over, Noah tells her to stop as she literally has an arrow aimed at his head. So he switches up his strategy and says with a deadpan face that anyone who makes him mad, human or monster, gets beat to death with his own hands, and asks her if she really wants to mess with the boss. Sweating harder than a Fortnite gamer high on Red Bull, the elf lady yells she isn't scared of him. But in the middle of her bold speech, she suddenly notices that another threat has appeared. Noah turns around and notices clouds of dust rising, which actually turns out to be a pack of vicious wolves that regularly attack the village. As the beasts close in, he just stands there like he's about to adopt them. But the elf lady starts shooting at his babies, while furiously declaring she will protect the village from their filthy paws no matter what. Seeing how skilled she is with a bow, Noah figures she's likely some kind of hunter or whatever, but it's also pretty clear she struggles against the beasts, so he tells his minotaur and goblin dude to handle it and send the filthy mutts running. Back to mommy. Gilanka blasts off to flex and prove to Milo who's boss, and that makes Chappie super jealous since the big softy also wants to help. Noah just tells him and Ruri to chill for now, and instructs him to guard the little girl, clinging to his pinky while he goes out to handle the problem himself. Feeling a spark of fatherly love he's never known before brings the big guy to actual tears, and he swears he'll protect the kid with everything he has. Meanwhile, Gilanka absolutely rips through the wolf monsters like they're paper, and Milo swings his axe like a madman to shred every pup that dares approach. After watching the jacked cowman smash monsters into chunks, the goblin calls him uncivilized, which sets off another dumb fight Noah completely ignores again. Meanwhile, the elf lady just stands there confused and asks him what kind of forbidden sorcery he's using to make monsters fight like that, but Noah just repeats that they're his loyal homies. Then she leaps down from the wall and deals with the stragglers, but one sneaky wolf slips past her and heads straight for Noah, though he's weirdly fine with it since he wanted to tame one anyway. He starts wondering how he's supposed to knock one out without eliminating, since he would definitely one-shot it in a second. And that's when it hits him that a good stomp to the face works just fine, leaving the poor puppy visibly scarred for life. Noah feels pretty satisfied his plan went smoothly while Ruri guilt trips him hard for traumatizing her precious doggy. When the vest clears, he notices a collar around its neck, and the pup looks at him with those big shiny eyes like it did absolutely nothing wrong, which stuns them both with how absurdly cute it is. Ruri calls dibs on naming it Doggy right away, but Noah quickly checks if the dog already has a name. Since it turns out the pupper is already named Bao, he shoves down her idea without hesitation and figures that monsters living in packs must have names, while solo creatures like Milo don't get any. Seeing the wolf chill like nothing went down, the elf lady stares in disbelief at how the same dog that nearly bit him is now happily wagging its tail like they've always been besties. That moment seals it for her, and she becomes totally convinced he's the real deal, especially as Milo and Gilanka dive into another roast battle in the background. With her mind racing, she gulps at the idea that alleged monster tamer has just shown up at the exact moment her village needs one badly. She hops down from the wall again. She bows down and starts begging Daddy Noah to save their village. She then properly introduces herself as Alyssa and gives a deep bow to thank him for defending the place earlier. She explains that it really is a secret elf village hidden far in the woods, though now it functions more like a nursery and retirement home since it's filled with kids and elderly folks aside from her. She finally reveals the real reason they're struggling is a dragon that started attacking them a year ago, and ever since then, wild monsters have never stopped swarming the place. That gets Noah curious since monsters usually don't team up across species, but it's possible when a boss-level beast invades their territory and forces them to follow orders. In that case, the weaker monsters band together and serve under one flag like a proper army. However, dragons are a different breed entirely. They don't bother ruling over anyone because they simply wipe out everything that breathes. Noah finds it super unfortunate that the elves were unlucky enough to get a dragon's attention in the first place. Alyssa tearfully shares that they sent every capable fighter they had to drive it off, but none of them ever came back, and her final companion died just yesterday. That makes Noah feel depressed more than he expected and kinda guilty for getting excited earlier about maybe taming a dragon like it's some cool event. So Noah ends up seriously asking why they don't just grab their stuff and yeet themselves out of there. Alyssa hits him with a brutal reality check that the village is their last sanctuary, and even if they flee, humans will track them down, catch them, and sell them off as slaves, making Noah instantly regret opening his mouth in the first place. He recalls that demi-human slavery still exists under the table, and even though slavery laws exist, they mostly protect humans, not the rest. Elves in particular fetch a stupidly high price because they look human, live super long, and not to mention, they are pretty hot. As he admires how drop-dead gorgeous Alyssa is, she asks him if he can channel his inner hiccup and tame a dragon. His face goes pale for a second in hesitation, but the lady throws her head to the ground to beg him again, emotionally blackmailing him into accepting. Even then, she tries sweetening the deal with a jaw-dropping offer of 50 gold coins, which is absolutely cracked when the guild only gives 1 coin for slaying a dragon. Noah quickly tells her to stop with the groveling and just brief him properly on where the beast's nest is. Once she mentions it lives up on the mountain near the ridge, he orders his squad to stay behind and guard the village, and then turns to Ruri and orders her to sit this one out since the fight ahead is going to be really dangerous, with a man's best friend tailing behind him. He heads off while Alyssa is terrified that the 2 giant behemoths towering behind her won't turn on them, all the while he heads out all excited about his first ever dragon fight. Back at the guild, the adventurers whisper among themselves about the 2 legendaries rank adventurers, casually grabbing lunch like it's no big deal. Among them is Shelley, a high and mighty rank sorceress, who glances into her enchanted crystal ball and notices an odd flicker, so she calls up a guy named Drake. Annoyed by the constant background noise and the gossip coming from a bunch of weaklings in some backwater village, Shelley scoffs at their mumbling, but the hulking guy beside her calmly reminds her that they don't really have a choice here, since they're operating under direct orders from His Majesty himself. Just then, she finally connects to Drake, who greets her with a lazy yo, while effortlessly knocking wyverns out of the sky with his other bare hand. Shelley tells him that an ancient dragon appears in the demon forest and orders him to take care of it. He says it will take him at least 5 days just to reach there, and sighs over how their promotion now forces them to take every mission from the Emperor without question. Back in the forest, Noah feels drained from all the walking, but Bao cheers him up with the news that their target stays close. Just then, a monster jumps out at him, so his first instinct is to punch it so hard it blasts off like Team Rocket. While Noah complains that he loses yet another pet, Bao leaps on him to hype him up and praises his one-punch man on steroid energy. They enjoy a heartwarming cuddle session that almost turns them into goo. As they climb higher, he asks Bao if he saw the dragon, but the puppy says he never even catches a glimpse, which makes sense since it's like him expecting to meet the Emperor as a regular NPC. Right after that, Bao warns him that the wind feels strange, and before they'd even process it, the massive dragon flying above shows itself with a roar loud enough to shake the world. Noah pats Bao and tells him to get to safety while he gears up to take on a dragon all by himself. He takes a moment to analyze the beast and finds out that it's a sky dragon packed with flashy skills like arrow assassination and high magic resistance. The dragon suddenly starts speaking and casually drops a threat, telling Noah there's no way he's walking out of here alive. Noah finds it a bit odd since he assumed his language skill would only work on monsters he'd actually tamed, not just anything that roars at him. Then the dragon casually drops a bombshell, asking if he's a tamer, revealing that he once met another one before. He explains that the only way a human can understand their language is by being a monster tamer, and starts throwing shade at Noah for only having a party full of weaklings. He even reminisces about how the last tamer he met had the same near-expiry stock tagging along. Noah tries digging for more info about his class from the dragon, and ends up learning something interesting, that a tamer only has a measly 2% chance of capturing a monster that's a higher level than them. That little detail gets his brain ticking, and he quickly does the math. Since he was already level 99 before switching classes, stacking the new levels means he's basically sitting at level 104 now. He remembers that the strongest monster back in the ruins was a guardian golem at about level 91. That would mean, by this logic, there shouldn't be a single monster left he can't tame. The realization hits hard, and Noah starts hyping himself up, declaring himself the strongest underlord around. Too bad the dragon clearly didn't sign up for motivational speeches because it blasts out a fireball, fully ignoring the vibe. Noah, however, dodges all the incoming attacks with ease, making the giant lizard look like a clumsy flying lizard throwing a tantrum. The dragon lunges in for a bite attack, but ends up face first on the ground after Noah plants a solid kick into its jaw. Noah climbs on top of the beast, pinning it down and asking what exactly he needs to do to knock it out properly, insisting that he just wants to be friends. Still, he can't tell if the dragon's on the verge of passing out or just moments away from signing permanent retirement. That's when Noah's brain decides to go full mad scientist. He figures, why not test a wild theory while he's at it? What if mentally breaking a monster worked the same way as physically knocking it out? Since taming usually heals them right up anyway. He shrugs and starts yanking out the dragon's fangs one by one. The idea of giving his new buddy a name has him grinning ear to ear as he casually collects a total of 25 teeth. Putting the poor beast through a dental nightmare is not for getting anytime soon. Just then the dragon finally gets tamed, and without wasting a second, Noah decides to name the beast Pappy. Still curious about his class and hoping to uncover more about it, Noah starts pressing the dragon for information, and specifically asks about the last tamer it had come across. Pappy casually spills that it was just some weakling of a girl who ended up losing all her tamed beasts to him and then ran off while yelling something dramatic about how she would one day make him part of her kindred. Hearing that gets Noah surprisingly interested in this mystery woman, since he figures there's a chance he could actually learn a thing or two from her. However, when he asks the dragon about when this encounter happened, he finds himself absolutely blindsided after learning that it all went down roughly 1,000 years ago. That tiny little detail ends up crushing all the hope he had just built up. But even with his dreams in ruins, the guy doesn't stop there and keeps the questions going by asking the dragon other stuff like how exactly he's even able to understand him. The dragon goes on to explain that unlike lesser creatures like those wolves who rely on packs just to gang up on humans, a beast like him stands apart with a will of his own and a mind sharp enough to match. That little explanation helps Noah piece things together, as he realizes the only reason a lowly mutt like Bao was ever able to talk to him in the first place was thanks to the effects of monster taming. Right then, Bao speaks up and points out that the village is now in sight, and Noah immediately orders the sky dragon Pappy to take them down for a landing. The moment a dragon starts swooping down, Milo gets ready to go full war mode, but before he does anything, Noah yells at him and jumps right off the dragon's back. He walks straight up to Alyssa and tells her that he has kept his word. Ruri rushes to her master in a flash and anxiously checks if he's okay while Alyssa stands there completely speechless, unable to find the right words to thank him. Her eyes start to well up with tears as she connects everything she just witnessed to one of the ancient legends passed down through the village. She explains that long ago an army of about 10,000 soldiers tried to infiltrate their village, but a woman living there unexpectedly defeated them all using her skill to command monsters. She goes on to say that the woman pushed forward and ended up burning the entire enemy territory. According to the rest of the story, she planted small saplings that grew into this beautiful forest which now protects the village from humans. When she mentions the name Lil Carla, Pappy suddenly speaks up, telling his master that the Tamer he mentioned was also named Lil Carla. This shocks Noah, who suddenly remembers that Lil Carla is actually the name of the devil in human society. And given that he shares the same class as her, he might also be seen as the Demon King and treated like a threat, being ultimately subjected to subjugation. Noah tries to calm himself down, but instead remembers that the page right after the hero class in the Divine Tom was labeled Demon King. Pappy then tells his master that since he defeated him, Noah now stands at the top of the monster ecosystem, and the entire forest is waiting for his orders. Overwhelmed by all the ridiculous thoughts flooding his mind, Noah lets out a loud scream, insisting that he is not a Demon King. After that, Alyssa invites him to spend the night inside the village and announces to everyone that their savior, the great monster tamer Noah, has arrived. Inside the village, he feels a bit let down to see it's just another quiet place in the middle of nowhere instead of the fairy-filled, flower-covered fields and treehouses he expected. Still, he calls out to his squad and apologizes since he can't exactly bring them in and disrupt the peace. Pappy tells him monsters are fine with staying outside and says he actually enjoys touching grass unlike his master. Meanwhile, Milo tries to silence the two shy ones who want to go with Noah, but he lets Bao tag along because the fluff is too hard to say no to. After that, Alyssa leads him and Ruri into her house, and on the way, he thinks the village oddly reminds him of the town he grew up in, though in a nice way. Right then, an old hand reaches out and startles the guy as she asks if he is their savior. While he's still recovering from the scare, the elder bursts into tears and thanks him for saving her, and the family's gathered there. Before he knows it, he finds himself surrounded by emotional old folks, all there to thank him, which honestly makes him feel more awkward. Alyssa advises him to accept their kind words and that only adds to the guilt because he never thought of them once when he beat the dragon just for fun. She explains how everyone feared each new day before he showed up, and while leading them to her home. She says he has a good heart even with all that power, just like the legendary hero Lil Carla. Turns out he already has a little fan club made up of kids who run up to him saying they want to become cool monster tamers like him when they grow up, and before he even realizes it, he's surrounded by a bunch of adorable brats. Alyssa tells the happy pair to take good care of the village after she's gone, which makes Noah curious why she won't be staying much longer. While Ruri snuggles with Doggy like he owes her money, he asks Alyssa that she plans to leave the village, but she tells him to wait till they get to her house. Meanwhile, at the guild, Marin slams her hand on the table and yells in frustration, which turns a few heads nearby. Still, the calm and sharp guild lady tells her she double-checked, and there's no one named Noah Whitefield registered in these or a rank lists. She asks Marin if she wants her to check the rank list too, though that would cost her a kidney or two, along with a good chunk of time, since that list is a whole lot longer. The Saintess says she has the cash, but not the time, so instead, she asks her to connect her with some rank adventurers right away. The guild lady says there was a team who stayed for 2 days, but unfortunately, she can't give out mission details because of client privacy. Realizing it's no use arguing with her anymore, the Saintess walks off hunched over and disappointed. She still can't believe someone who can one-shot a Minotaur isn't even listed under a rank, and stops to glance at her quest flyer there on the board, collecting dust just like her love life. Meanwhile, Noah steps into Alyssa's humble home, and she tells him to feel at home, even if it looks just as worn out as the village itself. He admits she has a point, since it only has the bare minimum every house needs, but he repeats his earlier question about why she won't be staying in the village for much longer. That's when she casually tells him to sell her body, which should easily go for at least 50 gold as his reward. She grins with pride since she's doing it for the safety of the village she loves. Noah takes a second to wrap his head around that and starts to panic as Ruri throws a deep stare from behind. He immediately tells Alyssa to take it back and says he never asked for any reward. She holds her ground and says she made a promise, and elves never break their promises no matter what, trying to snap her out of it. He tells her that taming the dragon was just a fun little side quest for him, and he won't take the offer, especially with Ruri the executioner glaring holes into his spine. Getting rejected like that really hits Alyssa's non-existent self-esteem, and she instead offers to become his personal slave instead. She fully knows that humans adore elves for their beauty, and claims she's confident in her own. Alyssa asks if she's wrong about that, and Noah admits she is definitely hot, but stops mid-sentence as he feels a blade drive deeper from behind with every extra word he lets out. He tells her to cool their melons, and says he would be way more than happy to be friends with her instead, leaving the poor elf lady completely stunned. Noah explains he'd honestly be happier if she stays by his side as an equal he can always talk to without hesitation. Hearing that, Alyssa's heart almost explodes with happiness, and she realizes just how weird she was being. So she immediately bolts off to get changed. After she's gone, Noah lets out a deep sigh of relief as he feels the deadly rage building behind him start to finally fade away. Lying flat on the couch, he really regrets turning down her amazing offer, but Ruri appears right in his face and force exits him from his elf fantasy mode. Pretending like he wasn't thinking about elf baddies, she pouts and asks if he was still thinking about the steamy offer. Ruri makes it very clear that she knows the only brain he's using is the one below his belt. Alyssa returns with her father's old clothes, and Noah finds them surprisingly stylish and in way better condition than his worn-out gear. Though Ruri has her own thoughts. She tries to flex as best girl and says she can fix his stuff up and make it look brand new again. Watching the two girls drag it into a tug-of-war, Noah gets smacked with shock as they both ask him to choose one. Being a pro negotiator, he claims Ruri would benefit if she works on his clothes, since it's the only real way for her to gain levels with the maid class, which finally gets Alyssa off his back and moves the topic to dinner instead. Later, she puts together an impressive feast, even if it lacks meat since elves are mostly filthy vegans who care about the planet or something. Anyway, she admits she never expected the day would come where she'd have friends to eat with after her parents passed away, and gets a little emotional over it. She asks what he plans to do going forward. So Noah explains that he honestly doesn't have anything in mind yet, and just thinks it would be nice if he could grow his squad and build a house where they can all live in peace. While petting his good boy, he adds that all he wants now is to rest in peace, to which she suddenly sits up and asks if he would like to settle in her village instead. Noah argues his monsters might cause trouble, but admits no one in the village should mind now that he's their savior. After checking with Ruri first, he takes her up on the offer, which makes Alyssa super happy, and she officially welcomes them all to the hidden elf village. After that, he thanks her for all the kindness and hospitality she's shown them and lies down while thinking how long it's been since he had such a comfy bed to sleep in. Struggling to doze off, Alyssa whispers to him that she felt really happy when he said she could be his friend, and tells him if he ever wants to accept her steamy offer, then he better tell her in advance so she can mentally prepare. With that said, she hides herself inside the blanket out of sheer embarrassment, and a demon slowly crawls up from under the bed just to make it very clear he better not even think about doing it. The following day at the guild, Marin sulks at a table forever alone as usual, but it turns out she's actually eavesdropping on adventurers who chat about the dragon quest almost being over since these ranks Randy and Shelly are already on it. After hearing that, she quickly gets up and bribes them for extra info, learning that another member of Shelly's party, the Fist King Drake, is going to show up as well. She then hurries to get a carriage and tells the driver she doesn't want to go to Lila Carlo ruins anymore, but instead to the demon forest nearby, hoping she might catch the Rankers and annoy them enough until they help her out. Even if she doesn't find them, there's still a solid chance she runs into Noah, since he headed toward the forest after they separated. With that in mind, the Saintess takes off like her entire life now depends on it. By the time morning rolls around in the elven village, Alyssa turns to Ruri and asks her to wake Noah up since she has something exciting to share with him. Once he's up, she leads him toward a large house, offering it to him as a gift on behalf of the village chief. However, right after that generous gesture, Alyssa starts pointing out a few issues with the place. It turns out the house sits a bit outside the main village, and given how long it's been abandoned, it's now completely covered in rust and dust. So she warns Noah that he might need to put in a little effort cleaning it up. Noah takes one look around and jokes that the whole place looks like it needs more of a full-on reconstruction than just a quick clean. When he points out that repairing things isn't exactly in his skill set, Alyssa brings over an elderly elf puffing on a pipe. This old geezer, known as Lute, is apparently a respected builder in their small village. Not only that, but he's also brought along his grandkids, who showed up hoping to play with Noah's so-called good monsters. While the monsters seem more annoyed than amused by the idea, Gilanka suddenly steps forward and proudly declares that Noah can leave the babysitting to a noble knight like him, throwing shade at the rest of the crew by calling them nothing but meatheads with zero experience. The others take that as a direct challenge, and Milo quickly manages to win a few kids over to his side to play with, while poor Sky Dragon Pappy ends up struggling to get even a single kid interested in hanging out with him. As the children start running around and playing with Noah's monsters, the old geezer makes his way toward Noah and pulls out a construction plan, asking for his thoughts on the design. Meanwhile, Gilanka is doing a surprisingly solid job keeping the kids entertained, which earns him some well-deserved praise from Noah, who points out that he really is living up to the title of a knight. Hearing that makes the kids even more curious, and before long they're begging to join his so-called knightly order. Gilanka tries to push back a little, but Noah gives him a pat on the head and insists he should let them be part of his crew. The kids go all in on the idea and even prepare a gift for Gilanka, handing him a medal and explaining that no proper knight is complete without one. Gilanka finds the medal perfectly to his taste and proudly declares that he'll protect their village with his life, though to the kids it just sounds like some cool-looking goblin shining dramatically for no reason. After that, the kids walk up to Noah and present him with a crown made of flowers as a gift, explaining that the shy ogre monster Chappie helped them make it. Noah finds it oddly impressive that his monster has such a knack for crafting. 3 days roll by and Noah ends up losing it on Pappy, snapping at him in full rage. Turns out the dragon, desperate for attention and frustrated by the fact that no one likes him and all the kids are terrified just by looking at him, decided it was a good idea to breathe fire to gain some attention, but ended up burning their newly built house to the crisp. Noah goes all in on bullying the poor dragon for destroying his perfect peaceful home, but Ruri jumps in and pulls him back, calmly pointing out that what's done is done and there's no use crying over it. Feeling guilty and stupid, the dragon swears his loyalty all over again, promising Noah that he'll be in his debt from this day forward. Noah then takes the dragon along with the rest of the monsters to gather building materials for the house, but decides to leave Chappie behind when a little girl insists she wants to play with him. Playing along with Gilanka's crew setup, Noah calls the girl deputy captain and entrusts her with the task of protecting the village while he's away. Later on, Pappy is seen flying through the sky while carrying an enormous load of wood, doing his part to help Noah rebuild his home. Meanwhile, Milo keeps trembling non-stop as it becomes clear that the poor monster has a serious fear of heights. Just as they're about to head back, Noah gets a horrible gut feeling and suddenly notices smoke rising from the direction of the village. With his heart sinking fast, he prays that Chappie and the villagers are safe and tells the giant flying lizard to finally do something useful and fly faster. Noah absolutely loses it seeing his big boy in such horrible shape and instantly skydives off Pappy's back with Ruri, held in a full princess carry. As a little girl cries over Chappie's downfall, Alyssa and the others arrive right then, also shocked beyond words, with little kids trailing behind her and throwing rocks at the humans who attacked him. The rank group lounges behind their shield and assumes the elves' ears probably take up brain space, since they're now attacking the ones who just slayed a monster for them. Drake tells everyone to settle down and calmly explains he came to hunt the dragon, threatening them, asking for information to help. His short speech is cut off by Noah's explosive arrival from behind, like the Hulk just dropped in out of nowhere. The trio immediately turn toward the guy who fell from the sky with a little girl in his arms, just as they spot the ancient dragon they're after flying right above them in the sky, looking like he's about to go full ham on them. Noah tells Ruri to take cover while the Shrankers casually tell him to be a good little boy and stay behind them. He activates his appraisal skill on the trio, which Shelly immediately senses as a nasty, defiling sensation crawling across her body. She confidently assumes it's just some fool trying to scan her stats through her magic shield, but that smug thought barely lasts a second before the barrier cracks and shatters completely, making her genuinely question if he's even human. Noah notes they're just level 50 peasants pretending to be impressive, trying too hard to act like hotshots. They repeat their advice again, but he shoots a cold side-eye at the brainless blonde boy and asks if he was the one who did it. Then, Noah immediately flies forward with a punch so powerful that even after Drake blocks it, he's still sent flying like Yansha in his worst moment. The so-called Fist King crashes right through the village fence, leaving both Shelly and Randy completely stunned at the raw power that nobody just unleashed. As Drake staggers and tries to recover from the impact, Noah admits he's impressed by the guy's endurance and calmly walks toward him, with a serious expression locked on his face. That's when Randy and Shelley yell at him to stop acting like he's the main character and pay attention to them instead. But the very next second, they both feel like their upper bodies just lost connection with their legs and retreat instinctively, shaken by how this unknown guy triggered their survival instincts without even trying. Shelley thinks her foresight magic must have glitched, but these rankers stand frozen, watching him charge ahead. Pappy, now filled with righteous fury, decides to step in and challenge the overconfident clowns who claimed they came to hunt him. One terrifying glare from the big boy is enough to make both Baldy and Blondie cry like terrified children, horrified that they'll have to face the dragon without their frontline tank. Then, Milo steps forward and calmly shares that Chappie was like a brother to him, making it clear the Minotaur plans to beat them down until there's absolutely nothing left of their ego. Following him, Noah also throws his glove in Budget Blackbeard's face and tells him it's on. But the brawler laughs at the trash mob trying to act tough. Galenka throws Randy a death stare to make it clear it's on, so Noah leaves the two scrubs to his squad. He then moves on with Ruri and Bao following him, and tells Alyssa to evacuate everyone because he's about to explode. Putting his hand on his buddy's shoulder, he tells him his vengeance won't take long. Ruri notices a little girl, wipes her injury, and then comforts her as she cries about Chappie's brave role in protecting the village. She also wonders if he can rest in peace after missing his promise to play with her. And as she thinks that's just like Chappie, Ruri breaks into tears like the little girl. Meanwhile, Noah advances toward his enemy in the rummage, and thinks he's never faced such disgrace in his life. His foe manages to stand despite his terrible condition, and starts angrily mumble-rapping like Leo Pump as Noah gets ready for an outburst. Blonde Boy finally yells that he messed with the wrong idiot, but Noah flips him off and tells him to quit yapping and start fighting. Drake says he'll beat his name into every fiber of Noah's body, but Noah says there's no need since he's about to put his name in history books. That tilts Drake so hard he pulls out his ultimate move. But Noah knocks the air out of him with the power of love and friendship straight to the solar plexus. Meanwhile, Marin slips and ends up sulking about how cursed her luck always seems to be. Apparently she has rushed straight into the demon forest and now has absolutely no clue where she is. As she stumbles around in frustration, she hears a loud noise coming from a certain direction, and is stunned to spot what looks like a village right in the middle of a place like this. Back at the fight with the Drake guy, he lunges in hoping to land a hit, but Noah grabs onto his knee plate, giving him a rough time midair. It doesn't take long for Drake to realize that just one clean hit from Noah could mean a death sentence for him. But after watching how messy and uncoordinated Noah's moves are, he quickly brushes him off as some zero brain cell amateur he can easily outplay with a bit of technique. In the meantime, Shelley and Randy are having a hard time holding their ground against the three monsters. Galenka spots a chance and charges toward the witch, but Shelley quickly responds with her Ice Edge attack, which the goblin dodges without much trouble. Galenka nearly manages to pounce on her, but just before he can make contact, she casts an Earth Spike and ends up stabbing a sharp spike straight through him. Right then, Pappy and Milo jump into the fray. The oversized goon Randy pulls out a handful of small metal balls and activates his iron ball fighting skill, launching them like rapid-fire iron bullets toward Milo. Milo finds the attack more irritating than dangerous and dashes toward Randy, but the fat guy pulls out a giant black iron ball and hurls it at him, only to be stunned when Milo dodges it without breaking a sweat. As Galenka joins the fight, the chubby thug finds it hard to wrap his head around how mere monsters could pull off such clean teamwork and coordination. As the battle intensifies, Randy quickly reaches into his pouch and finds his balls missing. Turns out Galenka has already snatched them using his steal skill, leaving the poor guy ballless. Deciding to finally act like professionals for once, the two rankers agree to team up properly, leaving the dragon for Shelley while Randy deals with the remaining two. Pappy fires off a stream of flames while Shelley throws up an ice wall in defense, but the dragon scoffs at the attempt, claiming that such a paper-thin shield won't do anything against his attack. As the dragon tries to melt through it, Shelley switches things up and suddenly launches a lightning strike, pairing it with an explosion skill in perfect sync. Apparently, she's no ordinary mage, but one who can combine elements into fusion spells, earning her the title of the Rainbow Mage. She leaves the other two for Randy and dashes after the dragon, whipping up a gust of wind magic as she flies in for round 2. Pappy laughs the witch's guts, calling her a total idiot for thinking she can challenge the King of the Skies in an aerial fight, boasting that he'll carve pure terror right into her soul. But the witch doesn't flinch and mocks him right back, calling him an ancient dragon with nothing but hot air in the big mouth. Turns out she can communicate with him just fine, which only adds more fuel to the fire. Back with Noah, he's absolutely dominating Drake, landing heavy bashes that leave no room for a comeback. Drake tries one last desperate move by pouring every bit of his Kai energy into his fist for a final blow, but Noah casually slams him back like it's nothing. Not stopping there, Noah follows up with a brutal kick, and even though Drake tries to dodge, he still ends up flying across the battlefield from the sheer impact. Crumpled in a corner, Drake stares in disbelief, wondering how Noah possesses such monstrous mana that even a dragon bends to his will. As Noah yells at him to quit crawling and fight like a man, Drake starts putting the pieces together, slowly realizing that this guy might actually be the demon lord himself. After he gets blown away like a fly once again and ragdolls across the ground a few times, the battered Drake has no clue how he's supposed to survive this mess. Over in the demon forest, Marin watches the whole chaos from afar and feels absolutely lost on how Noah destroyed the Fist King like he's Usopp, while the other two Srankers can barely handle Noah's familiars. She then gets forced to hide as a massive manticore strolls right past her, and a bunch of other creepy crawlies stroll in behind it. She prays to every lord she knows, and somehow the monsters just wander off and start charging in the same direction, which makes her wonder what the heck is going on. Meanwhile, Pappy breathes fire at Shelly while catching onto her little trick, and feels like it's game over now that they're stuck alone. On the flip side, Gilanka and Milo face off against the jacked guy swinging that big black chain chomp around. The little redcap jumps all over the place and really ticks Randy off, so he pulls out his tiny crossbow and fires it straight at his tiny head. But Milo pulls up at the last second like a total legend and saves his friend. After Gilanka points out his save was not needed, he joins forces with the Minotaur and pulls off a pincer move on Blackbeard that leaves the guy so wrecked he feels angry that he now has to use his ace move against what he sees as trash mobs. Milo and Gilanka brace for whatever wild trick he plans to pull next, but Randy reveals he's basically Gora of the sand but fat, so now he controls grains of sand with his magic and sets up one final deadly strike. Right as he prepares to drop his iron ball of doom, a random kid comes flying out of nowhere and lands right in front of him from the sky, and both Srankers freeze in total disbelief at what they just saw. They spot Drake on the ground folded like a beach chair and realize within seconds that he's done for. Milo turns to the one who sent him crashing down and apologizes for losing Noah aura points by failing his one job. Then Randy switches targets and throws the iron ball of doom at Noah instead, hoping to clutch it out. But the thing splits clean in half with a single punch. As Noah hits him with that straight-up demonic glare, the guy starts to question how he's supposed to win against someone who treated Drake like a practice dummy and didn't even break a sweat. Shelly thinks about ditching the bald tank, but remembers she's not trying to catch punishment for acting like a coward. Still, she shoots into the sky in total confusion while watching a full army of demonic beasts gather behind Noah. Randy quickly accepts that he's done for, but even Milo turns to Noah and asks who the backup squad is. Out of nowhere, Bob pops up and says it's thanks to his freshly unlocked skill, then looks to his master for the next move. Noah checks him out and figures he must have gotten the monster summoning howl skill after leveling up from slurping some high-level blood when he licked that wound. He tells all the monsters to chill while he takes care of the last survivors, then struts like a king while the whole demon forest kneels to him. Randy stares at the guy who's about to clap him straight to the afterlife and feels like his run wasn't half bad. Meanwhile, Marin bolts with her noodle legs and regrets skipping leg day, still in shock over how that random guy she met at the Lila Carla ruins just annihilated this rank Fist King like laundry. She never asked what he was doing so deep in the labyrinth, and even climbed all the way up from the old demon lord's grave. Once she realizes the monsters spared her only because his crazy mana pulled their attention, she rushes at max speed to inform her daddy, the Pope, that there is a big emergency. A new demon lord has awakened. Back at the village, Pappy asks the magical girl why she runs off like a scaredy cat, but she says risking her life isn't worth it anymore. So she freezes the dragon midair, which fully shocks the ancient dragon, since humans aren't supposed to use time magic. After that, she tells Randy to shut his eyes and drops a flashbang on everyone. She then tells him to hold her tight, because only the two of them are leaving now since Drake is already done for. She pulls out her priciest item and says he better cough up cash once they make it out. But Noah tries to leap at her and falls short right at the finish. He feels pissed that they escaped and Pappy tries to cool him down by saying they still got the dub. Noah snaps back asking how he can say that after losing someone they care about. So the ancient dragon tells him to stay quiet and just watch. Right then, both of them turn to a sudden poof of smoke around Drake's body, after which he stands up totally fine like he just came fresh out of the oven. Milo can't believe the dude is still alive after getting bodied by his own master, but the Fist King drops to his knees and pledges loyalty to Noah out of nowhere. Noah looks at the blonde dude and asks if he thinks he's stupid, then tells his dragon to quit laughing like an idiot, to which it asks what's got him all pressed. Pappy points at Drake's neck, where there's also a collar, and that makes Noah's jaw slam the floor. With that, the ancient dragon tells everyone to drop their fight poses, like clowns, and explains to Noah that while humans call him a dragon, he actually counts as a monster or demon made from demonic energy. He goes on to say monsters see themselves as demons too, since the demon lord made them by giving his magical energy. Pappy adds that every inch of a monster's body is made of those magic particles, and then points out that Drake's new body now bursts with demonic energy. Noah puts it together fast that Drake might be a demon disguised as a human, but Pappy says the transformation came from his own attack. Noah's jaw crashes through the basement again, so the dragon breaks it down that he pulled off something like necromancy by overloading his target with magic particles in a near-dead state. Noah feels hyped about the new power, but stays mad about losing Chappie even after the whole breakdown, proving he's got the brain power of a boomer who searches google.com on Google. Pappy then mentions that monsters sometimes just run low on magic energy, so Noah dashes over to the big guy and spams heal spells non-stop until he finally opens his eyes. As soon as they see him, the girls light up, and the big beautiful legend scoops him up in hugs that could last a lifetime. Noah gives the monster a thumbs up, appreciating that he actually kept his word about protecting the village. Chappie then explains that when the Rankers first showed up, Alyssa tried to ask them to leave politely, but things went south the moment they laid eyes on the elf children, with the grunt calling them a treasure. That's when Chappie rushed in to protect them, and that's pretty much the last thing he remembers. The new junior Drake steps up and apologizes to Chappie for his earlier rude behavior, admitting that ever since he turned into a demonic being, he's been losing his mind. Now, humbled, he offers his life to the so-called lowly ogre, saying that whatever this new form is, curse or blessing, he's undead now and wants a shot at balancing the score. Lacking the brain cells to process the situation, the shy monster turns to his master and asks what he should do, to which Noah casually tells him to forgive the undead guy and just let the past stay in the past. Chappie then tells the newcomer to hold out his fist and taps it gently with his own, forming a fresh bond of friendship without much fuss. Drake lets out a huge sigh of relief, saying he seriously thought he was about to reunite with his dead parents in the grave, which instantly reminds everyone else of their own families. Even Noah ends up thinking about his own parents for the first time in 5 whole years, quietly hoping they are still doing fine. Right then Alyssa walks up to him, and Noah reassures her with a grin, telling her that she can finally stop worrying because the coast is clear. Alyssa gets visibly tense the moment she gets close to Drake, who almost destroyed their entire village, and all she can hear now is his low growling mixed with the monster chatter, which makes her even more nervous. Noah quickly explains the situation to Alyssa, telling her that after he beat Drake, one of his skills somehow kicked in on its own and transformed the guy from a regular human into a demonic entity, basically what most would call a monster now. He swears it wasn't on purpose and just happened by accident. But Alyssa isn't buying it. She just shrugs and says a freak's always going to be a freak. Drake, clearly not thrilled, slams his fist against his chest and declares that he's actually kind of hyped. He believes this twisted change might finally push him toward heights he never could have reached as a human. His skin's now purple, and he admits he kind of feels like a walking zombie, but he's rolling with it. Then he turns to Noah and pledges that he'll keep training and working his way up until the day comes when he even surpasses his master. Noah tries to ease Alyssa's nerves again, gesturing toward Drake and explaining that the guy doesn't seem like a threat anymore, so there's really nothing to worry about. But right then, Pappy smacks Noah from behind, annoyed that he's wasting time. The dragon reminds Noah of the skill's condition, that it only activates when someone's left on the brink of death. He adds that this was clearly a one-off, since there aren't exactly many humans in this world who could survive a direct hit from him anyway. Just then, all of Noah's monsters bowed deeply as if pledging to a king, each one swearing their loyalty to him. Pappy proudly announces that with such a crew, conquering the world should be a breeze. But Noah quickly shuts that idea down, making it clear that world domination was never on his to-do list. All he ever wanted was a little peace. While they keep bickering over world conquest like kids arguing over snacks, Drake awkwardly steps forward and asks if he can say something. Noah tells him to drop the formal tone and just speak up. That is when Drake drops the day's biggest concern. If Noah really wants a peaceful life in this village, letting those two escape might have been a huge blunder. Noah tries to brush it off, confident that the beatdown they gave them was enough to scare them off for good. But Drake shuts that down fast. He tells Noah that the woman, Shelley, is no ordinary mage. She is a court mage, which means she has direct ties to the Emperor. There is no doubt she will report what happened. Worse, the old geezer saw that elves are living here. That kind of news travels fast and could bring in all sorts of lowlifes hoping to snatch the elves when they get the chance. Noah, who apparently has noodles instead of brain cells in his head, casually says he'll just beat them again and again if they come back. But Drake, thankfully the voice of reason now, explains that it's not that simple. The scoundrels wouldn't be dumb enough to face Noah directly. They'd strike when he's away, and worse, with a dragon and now someone like Noah roaming around freely, the Imperial army might come knocking. The Emperor would never allow that kind of threat to go unchecked. Noah lets out a tired sigh, silently mourning the death of his peaceful dream. Drake then suggests that instead of running, Noah should turn the village into his kingdom. Meanwhile, in the capital, Randy and Shelley have already spilled everything to the Emperor. Emperor Alexis Grandal Drancos listens intently and commends them for bringing back such valuable intel. He then turns to his Prime Minister, Carmen Strands, and asks if the church has reported anything similar. Carmen nods and replies that a priestess named Marin has submitted a report. She claims to have met a boy named Noah Whitefield who called himself a monster tamer. The Emperor asks the rankers if that name rings a bell, but both shake their heads. Carmen continues, saying that according to Marin, this boy had a minotaur doing his chores and cleared the middle floors of the Lealcarl's ruins like it was a breeze. Shelley grows tense as sweat trickles down her face. There's not a shred of doubt in her mind anymore that the boy they're talking about might very well be the demon lord in the flesh. The Emperor calmly dismisses both the grunt and the witch. Outside the chamber, Randy starts steaming with frustration. After all the humiliation they suffered, they didn't even get a single coin tossed their way. Shelley quickly silences him, warning that even the walls probably have ears and they're most definitely being watched. They keep venting anyway, both agreeing they're never fighting that lunatic again. No amount of gold is worth dying with your face in the dirt. Back in the throne room, the Emperor quietly instructs Carmen to assign someone to shadow the two. He doesn't want them dead this early as he plans on squeezing them to his benefit. He then asks for more information about the Whitefield family. Carmen explains that they're a minor nobility under Margrave's territory. The father has already stepped down, and their estate is now run by the eldest son, Hall. Their second son, Ray, serves in the Order of Knights. With this, the Emperor and his Prime Minister lean back in agreement that a Baron's son who can defeat Nsrankar and tame a dragon is obviously the Demon Lord. The Emperor plans to send the Shadow Walker and a newly appointed hero to deal with the boy. He also issues a royal decree to nearby nations, announcing they'll soon be welcoming a new hero. When the Prime Minister asks what they should do with the Whitefield family, the brutal scumbag replies that it's necessary to punish the ones who gave birth to the next Demon Lord. Without wasting time, the Prime Minister arranges for their execution, even as the family desperately shouts that all they ever knew was Noah being a mere villager, and that it's been 5 whole years since they last saw him. What fate befalls the Whitefield family, and is Noah going to make it in time to save his family? Drop a Milo in the comments down below if you want the next part, because it's about to hit the fan. If you're enjoying the story, slam that like button and subscribe for more epic twists. See you in the next video.